So, yes, our chair is not in attendance. Vice chair has been in the past either Portia or Craig, or not here, so I guess, I'll just call attendance right now is Tuck.
Yep.
Roger. And Stannis.
Yeah.
And sounds like Craig will be joining us soon, and, I would say that is a quorum, although we don't really vote.
Yeah.
On anything in this, but I do want to get some feedback from you guys about an application, so it would be helpful if when and if Craig shows up, we can kind of resolve that. So tonight, is, just wanted to go over high crash locations in town. We typically do it on an annual basis with this committee. Just so you guys are kind of getting the latest information or up to date on any of the areas that we are seeing safety concerns, and pretty much they stay the same. However, every year you'll see maybe one or two drop off and one or two get added, so it kind of ebbs and flows. There's some areas in particular that an intersection may be on one year, off one year, comes back on. It's like just kind of teetering on the edge. And then there's others that have been consistent for decades, one of which of those consistent for decades intersections is not on the 2025 list, which I questioned and kind of poked at a little bit with DOT, but I think we talked about it a little bit, and that is Payne at Cummings. That has always been one of the highest numbers of crashes in the region, and I think what we're looking at is when they determine whether it's a high crash location, there's factors that play into how that's calculated. And we talk about like personal injury, or if there's a death, if it's a pedestrian.
The crashes, people coming off Cummings onto Payne Road.
Either or, just in that intersection in general, they can be going in any of the three legs. That is that three-legged intersection though, yeah.
Does that intersection include the extension of Spring Street to Payne Road?
Extension of,
No.
oh, no.
No.
So what I'm talking about is
You're talking about the pure
just
intersection.
the intersection.
Okay.
And then you can see I put in the list, go down. On the back of your agendas, is the list of segments also. So if it's just, for instance, like Oak Hill is not on here, but if you combine the intersection plus the four legs, and you look at Oak Hill, it's got a lot of crashes, but they count them all separately.
You have off Oak Hill on here under the segments,
Right, it's under
but
segment,
not on the high crash.
because they've split it out that way.
Okay.
DOT looks at it as like purely the intersection, and then each segment of road is its own segment of road. So that's what you're saying, one of the legs, or two.
I don't even know, where is Thornton Avenue?
That's the one by, the architect, used to be the old town hall,
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
What, by the way, what is? I thought though there was gonna be dividers put in, both on Gorham Road as well as Black Point. Who's doing that? Is that the state or is that the town?
The Downs, as part of their
the
offsite
Downs.
improvement.
When is that scheduled to be done?
They're required by their DOT permit to have it completed by, I think, June 15th
Of next year?
of next year. So they are putting it out to bid.
So when that goes in, they'll be blamed for that then too, right?
Well, it was a safety improvement because they're adding so much volume to those intersections. So if you think about adding volume, then the crashes would most likely coincide with that. So that was a requirement, yeah, DOT.
And the other one, you have Gorham Road between Hannaford entrance and Payne. Is that the Hannaford out there at?
Mhm.
You know, okay.
So essentially that, I take it as, I can't remember what, there's a gas station there.
Yeah, the
Across from Hannaford,
Yeah.
Cumberland Farms.
Yeah, people.
That is a right in, right out, but nobody
Right.
treats it that way. The site plan from the planning board required that as a right in, right out. And it had an island at one time and signage, but everyone ignores that and goes left, and that is on a high crash location, or it's been for quite some time. So that, again, you'll see the islands that went in there was also a safety project that the DOT required the downs to do. So that just got completed.
Also, great, with that. That Gorham Road, they have the Payne Road.
Yep,
Oh, so there's a new island right there by the service station?
yep, a median went in, so we're gonna be watching that to see if the crashes go down.
And there's Saco Street between County Road and Van Street, that's near Aroma Joe's.
Yes,
So is that the result of Aroma Joe's going in there or what?
I have a feeling that is more of, kind of the congestion and bumper to bumper and kind of people not paying attention and probably rear end collisions.
Okay.
It was never a high crash location until.
To Aroma Joe's, interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So if you wanna go through the segments first, it sounds like, I can pull up that. Well, I guess I wanted to talk through a little bit of how I narrowed, we looked at certain locations and not all of these, obviously, for Summerfest, we went through 7. So actually, if you don't mind, maybe I can start with intersections.
Okay.
When you see 13, at Summerfest, we asked for people to weigh in on, 7 of the high crash locations, and there is rhyme or reason to that. And if I walk through each of these, I kind of give explanation of the ones that are on here and the ones why they're not. The first one, Roundwood, is basically also one of the Hannaford entrances and across from the hub where community services is out of, so
Yeah.
that was one that people voted on. The number 2 is Broad Turn. Oh, actually, it's on here. Number 2 on your list is Broad Turn and Burnham Road. And the reason why that is not on this list that we asked residents to weigh in on is that DOT just did a safety project. And we're waiting to see if it makes a difference.
You mean like the temporary things?
They did flashing stop signs and
Oh, okay.
advanced warning signs, because they were seeing that people were running that stop sign. And so they did some enhancements of the stop signs to see they're larger, they're lit, things like that, to see if it makes a difference.
So, a quick side note, it'd be interesting to see if the Roundwood and Payne Road intersection improves because of the Mussey Road improvements. With people having to stop for the light there,
Oh, okay.
I could see that it could make
But
that.
that's beyond that. This
It's beyond it, but I could see it influencing. Cars, just the pattern of driving there is, I think, gonna be safer in general. Yeah, I'd be interested to see next year if it's still on the
well,
high crash location.
what else can be done on between, regarding that Payne Road, that Roundwood Drive? I mean, is it because cars are cutting across 2 lanes to get to the other?
Yeah, it's more like,
Is that what it
there's
is?
a lot of lanes there, yeah.
Yeah,
There's also the
you
lot-
have the lanes already starting to expand to feed into the Payne Gorham intersection. So you're crossing a huge, like, highway basically.
Yeah, it's very wide.
I've never approached it from Roundwood Drive, but I imagine it's difficult if you wanna either take a left or go straight into Hannaford.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the ultimate.
It's
solution
also,
is.
it's difficult taking a left into Hannaford there. If you're coming down.
Yeah.
Payne Road,
Yeah,
it's often,
Well, you have to take, if you're coming, you mean heading,
if you're
Towards,
coming
like,
down
Moscow.
from Payne Road,
Yeah.
and you wanna get into Hannaford,
take
just have those
a
people
left
coming
at the
from
intersection.
like 114.
Yeah.
Well, the oncoming traffic there and the fact that there are multiple lanes means that, obviously never happened to me, but I can see how people can get sideswiped trying to,
Well,
traffic coming in and traffic just going so fast there.
to me, there's an obvious cure to many of these things, that's a U-turn.
How would you do a U-turn there?
Just go down the street a little ways and
Oh, for,
You know what?
Oh, you turn at,
and then
You know,
Yeah.
actually. up in
Actually,
Falmouth,
you're not allowed to do, there's a sign there, now, right?
correct.
But up in Falmouth, you know, where they've done the new Route 1,
Mhm.
they have segments, so you can actually make turns, you know, they.
Oh, they have pockets, you mean,
Oh, I
or
don't know,
left turn pockets?
I don't know what you wanna call them, but there's
Yeah.
grassy areas.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a section, so you can
Yeah.
actually make a U-turn, you know, so,
Well, I don't think you're supposed to, though, is it signed?
there's no signs. Says no loitering, just make a turn fast.
you could extend the island on Payne Road to, so that you can't take a
Right.
left-hand turn to Hannaford on Payne.
Yeah, I think
And
we,
try to get people to go straight through the Gorham Road intersection on Payne Road and then take a right into Hannaford this way.
yeah, I'm wondering if eventually people will clue in on that, that is, now that the median is in on Road 2
Yeah, I got it.
by the gas station, I feel like that stretch is now gonna be safer, because that is a high crash location too, so now that we kind of put the median in, I'm hoping kind of like you said, people kind of figure out that maybe that other Hannaford entrance is a safer bet.
Do you shop at the Hannaford on Payne Road?
Weekly.
One of the worst side crash locations is actually the turn into that Hannaford where Payne Road and Roundwood Drive is on the other side. But we're just discussing.
Yeah,
how
I
to
mean,
make
I
it
know
safer.
just from taking lefts out of there, my son did community service. Build like at the community service hub there. Taking a
Mhm.
left out of there is very difficult,
Yeah.
especially in the winter when light, can't see, headlights are bright, can't tell how fast people are
Yeah,
going.
approach sense, yeah.
It's a very, very tough intersection for sure.
Um. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think it's a bigger thing we need to zoom out, you look at, Gorham Road, Roundwood, and Muzzy, kind of, they're so close together, you kind of have to look at it holistically. Oh, Peter is on.
Sure, it's really good.
Peter,
I
can you
am.
hear?
No, Angela, I caught you there. Listen, I was driving, having driven through that. I drive through there quite a bit. My dog goes to daycare on Gorham Road. But that Hannaford's quite a bit. I've seen that the repaving effort is well underway, but is there going to be different median barriers that'll be installed as well there?
They are in now on Gorham Road.
They
and
are.
Well, Payne Road was already there, some medians, but the Gorham Road one in front of Hanover is in place now.
Got it. What does that? It's been a week, so and it was not there a week and a half ago. So what does that look like now?
The leg, I don't know if.
It just extends, so you can't take a left out of Cumberland Farms onto
Correct.
Gorham Road anymore.
That was
Got
the
it.
high crash location segment, so basically that's where the crashes were people turning left in or out of that gas station, and so the median extends to just before the Hannaford entrance, so the Hannaford entrance is still a full movement.
So you can still take a left out of the Hannafords onto
Yes.
Gorham Road there. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Correct.
That's and then the median extends and you've got still is it two left-hand lanes or is it one left-hand lane, a straight and a straight right-hand lane?
Correct. The last one.
That last one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If
Got
you're
it.
going from like Eight Corners to Gorham, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same configuration it was pre-repaving.
Yes. It
Yeah,
did not
okay.
change.
Got it.
They did have to put some like track lines through the intersection for certain movements, certain turning movements. Cause it is tight when you have conflicting traffic turning lefts. And you're kind of meeting traffic in the middle, so there are some skip lanes or whatever you wanna call it through there.
Is there any consideration for like pedestrian? Because I do see a number of people walking through. I mean, they'll use the center median as a stopping point to get from Cumberland Farms to Hannaford.
Interesting.
But I mean, I'd say daily, I'd see people at some level crossing.
Yeah, and I see a lot of that crossing at the Roundwood Drive to Hannaford's. I'm guessing they're going to the hotels or the short stay hotels there. But that does seem to be a cross Payne Road spot.
I will say the improvements that were done over on Gorham Road was part of the Downs traffic movement permit through the state of Maine. So DOT required that they address some of the safety issues that they're adding volume to. So that's where the median and the kind of the tracking for the intersection happened. I think their permit was kind of limited on pedestrian and bikes. I know they did have to, which they haven't done yet either, is a sidewalk from Market Street all the way to Cabela's. So that's coming, and DOT required that. So I will say the Downs is in front of the DOT again with a traffic movement permit, because they've used up all their trips. So they're looking for the next section to open. So these kind of things are good. I'm glad you brought that up, Craig. About pedestrians around that area, that we could like kind of just noting it, like where that is a need. And I have seen all the way down Payne Road, you see a worn path, even kind of down by Cummings, where people are walking
Yeah.
next to it, which is kind of crazy.
Under the bridge.
Under the bridge, yeah, you see that worn path and stuff. So people are walking it, definitely.
Yeah.
That upcoming traffic permit just between the Downs and DOT, or can we be involved?
I will say it's a permit with DOT. The DOT asks the town to weigh in on things, so we do. We give kind of our 2 cents. It does have to go through planning board, so the Downs will be submitting, I don't know if it's this next month, they're submitting for the next subdivision, so it'll be in front of the planning board, which the planning board can require more if they think they need more, things like that kind of stuff. Like say pedestrians or improvement or accommodations, things like that might be in the wheelhouse of.
Is that something, I don't know if anyone else is interested, is that something maybe we as the transportation could?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy to share those plans when they come in. 2 of your members are on the planning board. That's Jen and Roger.
So it's a huge investment that
Yeah.
we'd be making into the transportation system, so.
Agreed. I
Nice to try
know,
to add our input as to what we want to see.
that's true. I know Conservation Commission, occasionally weighs in when there's like a high environmentally sensitive project. They like to weigh in on things when there's like a lot of wetland impacts or floodplain or watershed impacts, and they have provided to the planning board comments, which I will say comes through Autumn. I told her not to worry about coming tonight, but maybe that's a future meeting too, that she can come to. That what we've done with Conservation Commission is staff has taken those comments, meaning Autumn, and kind of incorporate them into staff comments that go to the developer. So I would think that would be similar for transportation to happen. So anyway.
I'd definitely be interested, at least to
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
documents.
Okay.
And to maybe, if there's interest in the committee to give official.
We find out. Yeah. What committee is this?
Transportation.
Transportation? Is that what you're looking for? Yes. So, we got a long list, so I think we just touched base that it's on the back of the agenda, Craig, is a list of the intersection segments that are high crash locations. Broadturn and Burnham, we did not put on our map for Summerfest because,
Town council meeting?
no,
It's the transportation committee meeting.
Oh, okay.
what are you looking
The
for?
transportation committee. Are you going to be coming in on that,
You're the transportation committee,
Yeah.
that's what we want.
yeah, are you going to be
Come on in.
speaking at the town
Come on in.
council?
This is the meeting right here in this space, so, we do like to have public comment, so if you'd like to, yeah, please come in, take a seat. Yeah,
Yeah,
Especially if you're over 50 years old.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, are we gonna take people's seats? I
No.
know
This is us right here.
Okay. I thought there'd be a much larger audience.
I don't wanna meet these people, I wanna you over.
Well,
We're
this
just
is very
old people
cozy.
on rides.
There you go, okay.
Right now, we're talking about high crash locations in town. And,
Okay,
we're going to some of
we
the
have your agenda.
most significant, yeah. But then, if you're here for public comment, I think, well, but, that's officially, it's at the end, but, that was. Yeah.
So. Being only on number 2 of 21. No, I just wanna keep everyone in mind that we have an hour left, so I just kinda wanna go through some of the things that would love to chime in where you can, like you said. I appreciate you kind of bringing those kind of things up that I'm maybe not even thinking of. It's helpful for me to have a staff so that I can kind of carry forward, and also for Roger here as planning board member too. As he sees things, or Jen, I'm sure we'll be watching this in the future, so. Broad turn at Burnham. DOT just did that safety project we mentioned, so we did not put that on the list for Summerfest, but. Broad turn in Homes that is number 2 on our map. And like that, originally, the public did weigh in with the results, which I can actually dump. To that, if you wanna see it before we go through each of them, I'm sure you guys are anxious.
The DOT, oh,
This is the result, so the highest amount that we got for the weigh-in was Highland at Pleasant Hill Road. Maybe because Roger was talking to everybody.
I did, my neighbors.
Sounded like the activity concern is around 8 AM and at the end of the, like 5 or 6, right? You live there.
Is it because it's like an awkward left? It's not like
I think people aren't stopping at the stop sign
taking a left on.
anywhere.
Well, you know,
Well-
especially.
Oh, I'm thinking Chamberlain, sorry. I get what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bridge.
Yeah.
At the same time. And
Yeah, and I think when it's my commute, so I go through it twice a day and I don't see the issues, but I will say, I think I've mentioned to these guys at Summerfest is. I have also got calls from the resident on the corner, and we've gone out, Public Works and myself, and had multiple people standing next to the road with safety vests on and watched people not even touch the brakes, go right through that intersection. And I'm thinking that you don't see that in the commuting hours, like necessarily when I'm going through there, I don't see that. Because there's more congestion, not that there's congestion, it's like 1 or 2 vehicles. I never
Yeah.
get back far than maybe 2nd or 3rd vehicle at the most. But on the non-commuting hours, when it's kind of wide open, you see people, and I find, standing there for a while, coming from Route 1.
Yeah.
Towards the beach, they come up over that hill and don't even touch the brakes.
As a
Scary.
quick,
I can't believe that.
And we did have some people comment on the crashes they had been in. Some of the residents that were voting at Summerfest. had talked about that.
These crashes are only ones that have been recorded or
Yes.
reported to the police.
Correct.
And what constitutes a high crash? I mean, what's the quantitative number?
It goes in, there's an equation that involves volume of traffic on the
Okay.
road.
Okay,
So it's kind of like your probability of being in a crash, right? So if you have a higher volume of cars, it takes a higher number of crashes to become a high crash location. Whereas if you have low volume and you have high crash or higher, you know what I mean? The probability is higher that you're gonna get a crash in that location. So those are kind of things that factor in. Also factors in like significant injuries, right? Talk about like, or fatalities,
Yeah.
those bump up that number.
I gotta tell you, I think Oak Hill with signals is more dangerous than Pleasant Hill at Highland with just a 4-way stop. Because everybody, in my experience, I live in that area, everybody's very cautious when they're approaching that area, the 4-way stop. Where at Oak Hill, I see people go through red lights.
Mm.
I mean, and they're not going slow.
Yeah.
They're on Route 1, they're going at a high clip, and I think it's extremely dangerous. I mean, somebody's gonna get killed.
Going back to Highland and
Yeah.
uh Pleasant Hill, as a sort of inexpensive and quick addition, what about flashing stoplights?
That's what's there.
They are flashing.
No, they're not flashing
Yeah,
there.
there's one, isn't there one red flashing light?
Oh, over the intersection?
Yeah, over the
The
intersection.
stop signs themselves
stop
might just
signs.
give an additional like
So,
visual just to stop.
so one of the reasons we've kind of looked at trying to get public feedback is that there is an application out right now and the deadline is September 16th, an application through GP to do a roadway safety audit. So whatever we came out with, that's why I wanted to mention, is looking at if we want to go with the results of this, or we want to talk through some of the other intersections that we find are maybe a higher red, to Roger's point, a higher risk. Or we stick with the data. I need to come out with this meeting with which intersection I should be applying for to look at a safety audit. And with that, they would look at all kinds of things like you're mentioning, Stannis, whether it's like low hanging fruit kind of thing or more. And then we'd have a report to be able to kind of guide us. Yeah. So.
Angela, in that such an intersection, I look at Gorham Road and Payne Road, but Roundwood is right there. Would Roundwood plus Gorham Road be a single complex that we could take a look at, or is it really very strictly one crossing?
Oh, you're saying, so I will say we had a safety audit from GPCOG of Gorham at Payne Road already. I have that. Some of the pieces of that are being implemented by the Downs, which includes kind of a lot of the looking at turning movements and the conflict of turning movements. That's where I got into the tracking and stuff like that. So, I mean, we can have them look at it again, but
Well, I'm just saying having those two intersections looked at as a complex rather than as two individual intersections, I think would be helpful. Uh, because of some of the issues around how the timing of left turns work, versus getting into the backup on Gorham Road and the Gorham Road intersection and things like that. I offer that up. I'm kind of with the general. I think Oak Hill is the most dangerous one. So if I were to put my 2 cents in, I would put Oak Hill, the Route 114 207 interchange. But I'm just thinking of that as a complex, as we have a number of those kind of closely aligned intersections. We've got the one at Dunstan. We've got the one up there at there. Looking at some of these intersections as more than one road might be helpful.
Did Oak Hill even qualify as
I
a
will-
high crash
it
location?
does not. So I will say.
No, I'm not saying it is. It's just as a general comment in terms of how we talk about what an intersection constitutes.
Yeah.
Right. I will say when they did the safety audit, I can share that safety audit for the Gorham at Payne. I don't necessarily think there's an overlap of how the two kind of, when you look at the trash, the crash patterns are very separate. But I appreciate what you were saying, Peter, because I think we talked about at the beginning of this that we really need to zoom out even more. And at some point, we need someone to look at Payne Road, which includes Gorham, Roundwood, and Muzzy as a holistic kind of project.
Yep. And I think that has changed with the light now at Muzzy and Payne.
Right. Stannis had mentioned that. Maybe that even impacts how Roundwood functions, but
I think definitely, by observation, yeah, I think it has. So
yeah, and I think for this application, I think it wouldn't kind of qualify with that kind of multi-intersection approach, but if you guys wanted to look at Oak Hill, like it was mentioned, it's not listed as a high crash location. I understand the red lights being run, but what that means is you make the reds on all the other approaches longer. So essentially, if we're doing a safety project, we can do a safety project, it means your capacity is gonna drop in your level of service, so. That's where we start balancing things, so. I'm sure we would get a list of things that we might not wanna do. Depending on the capacity, where it's where it's not. Ranking in our high crash locations, I don't know if we'd have. The support to do that.
It'd also be interesting to talk to Jen about, Group 1, because
Yeah.
she's just coming off.
That's true.
That study, so she might have.
Yeah.
Some good input there.
I mean, running red lights is a chronic problem everywhere.
Yes,
I mean, I mean, I saw one up by the Mary Manlins not too long ago.
mhm,
A truck actually went right through the red light. You know, heading towards Cash Corner, coming off this spur. And I couldn't believe it, it's just a large truck.
so when you look at kind of where we talked about right now, how it kind of ranked out was the Highland of Pleasant Hill. The second one was the Gorham at Payne, but as I said,
Sure, basically tied 21.
I think the numbers itself though. 50 and 47, yeah. But the Payne at Gorham one, we already have a seat, like, I don't think I would get selected if I asked for that one again. Because it hasn't been that long. And they just did improvements, so I think they'd wanna see how that, factors in. The next one was, what was the next one?
Payne and Two-Rod.
Or, yeah, what'd you say, something? The next one was, Running Hill Road. In Gorham Road, which. On my update, I was gonna mention that we had. Brought to this committee when they were looking at feasibility for roundabouts. And this came out of our transportation study. This was one of the locations that was recommended to kind of look at further for a roundabout. And so we put it in as an application for them to do a feasibility study. And we were selected. There's only 3 intersections.
Oh, it's gonna be roundabout there?
No,
Oh,
there are, I'm saying the feasibility,
okay.
which is about like,
I was getting all
you have
excited.
like 20 more steps. Right, so don't jump ahead, but, so for the region, they selected 3 intersections. And one of them was Gorham at Running Hill Road, which I think is pretty good. And to look at feasibility of that roundabout or some other improvements.
Because
of
that's
that
where they used
intersection.
to have a slip lane,
Okay,
I think, right? Going and running them, there used to be a slip lane.
Angela, does that mean we would kind of waste our opportunity if we chose that one for a study?
we wouldn't be selected because it's the
Yeah,
same
okay.
group,
Yeah.
so they're gonna say, we're already doing that intersection through this other avenue,
Yeah.
so yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
And then the next one was Gorham at Sawyer. That is right here by the municipal campus, so we passed it. That is really, people coming fast on Gorham Road and the sight line not being. I'm gonna say the sight line, it meets the DOT standard. It's just for the speed limit.
Yeah.
And if people aren't going the speed limit, you have less time to react.
Yeah.
And along with that, it meets the sight distance if those row of trees are trimmed to the right of way line. And that, we've put on Public Works is now on an ongoing basis to work with that property owner to do that. It really needs to be done annually, and it has fallen off a little bit, and that's when we start getting complaints, because it's hard to see there. So that is another one, and then, we're kind of getting down to lower in the numbers, but I just wanted to point out Payne at Two-Rod. That one, that high crash location, we, when we did the complete streets and traffic calming guidance manual, we had that consultant talking about safety and traffic calming, and I was able to use some funds through my operating budget to ask them to look at traffic calming around that intersection as well as Two Rod and Scotto Hill Road, because that's the detour with Scotto Hill Road being closed. And so at your next meeting, you'll see at the bottom, I have asking you guys, we'll look at some potential traffic calming measures for that intersection as well as Two Rod, Scotto Hill. So I've kind of already started working with consultants on that one, knowing that that detour is been on, focus through council. So I feel like some of the other ones have been addressed a little bit, or we're waiting to see, or things like that, so.
So
I just want to lay it.
the decision with Scarborough is probably coming up
Yes,
the next month or so, right?
yep,
The town council.
yeah, I have that on my update too, that we will get results of our latest grant application.
So I feel like that's actually makes it really important to look at the Beach Ridge Payne Road, Scotto Hill intersection. So if we're,
That was a high crash location, right? Before.
It was a high crash
it's
location.
been one of the,
Yeah.
so we don't have the scores of each one here, but from
Yeah.
memory, I remember that one actually ranks often the highest in the entire town as a ratio of traffic to collision. So I feel like if we're doing work on Scotto Hill, or even if the council decides to close Scotto Hill,
Mhm.
that intersection is, it's really important to look at that intersection now to kind of combine with where.
You wouldn't
At the
want
same time, it doesn't
crash.
feel like you can adequately study it, right? I mean, as long as Scotto
Yeah.
is a question mark,
Well,
it
they're gonna make a decision in the next month as to what's happening with Scotto Hill.
But to Peter's point, I can't go out there and do traffic counts with all the legs until they open it up. Which might be 2 years if we replace, or it
Right.
could be right now, we have grant funding to remove it. So it could be a removal and that leg gets closed.
So waiting to see where traffic patterns shift.
So even if it gets reopened, it will probably be a few years or a couple
Yeah.
years.
I mean, this is selfish of me because I'm on this side of town, but Broad Turn and Holmes is out there. I travel that quite a bit, going both out towards Hollis and out towards the Fuller Farm, and the farm out there. If that kind of falls down, but that becomes the most viable and the most rational one, that's a pretty tough intersection and can both jam up in the mornings, and is endemic of people, let's say, more than roll stopping through during the midday and afternoons.
So
So
what
I,
I'm hearing. I guess we didn't have any conversation around Gorham at Sawyer. I didn't know if there's any more.
Well, the only thing you can do is cut the shrubs.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, I've said it before about the sidewalk.
and we do have a design. I can send it to you. I have a design for a sidewalk there. It's waiting for the developer to kind of finish the other piece. That'll get us a sidewalk around that corner and down, where they're building there on the left. It'll go through to their frontage. And then we can kind of keep picking away. I know cottages at Sawyer also is required by planning board, or put the requirement from where that, I don't know if you know where that subdivision is on the right, coming from there, before the corner. They're required to do sidewalk on, say, that left side, all the way around to it hits Sawgrass sidewalk. So there should be, between those two developments, this gap that I'm hoping the town we can get in there and kind of close that and make that loop.
Yeah, it's like a 2-mile loop. I mean, it's a great
Right now,
walk.
right.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone with
Yeah.
kids or a dog.
You guys gone through there?
Yeah, in school cross country team.
Yeah.
Use it, but it's kind of a sketchy turn currently, is how fast cars go and how blind it is.
Yeah.
So sidewalk would be great.
Actually, we had a gentleman come to us at Summerfest who lives in Dewberry,
Oh, yeah,
and he said he'd like to see a sidewalk connecting Dewberry to
That's right.
You remember that?
Connecting it to where?
Oh, what did you say you wanted it to have? He said it stops, the sidewalk just stops and, well, he wanted to. A crosswalk going across where the existing sidewalk goes, then a crosswalk to get onto the other side of the street. Where I guess it might be a sidewalk off where the apartments are. You know,
Well, there is one at the end of Durant. To go over.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know exactly, you know, the
Yeah.
layout there, but.
Yeah. And you were the one who brought up during planning board, I think, about the trails behind the subdivision on Sawyer. Didn't you mention there's a little footbridge?
Yes,
Goes to some trails and you asked about public
Yeah,
access through
yeah.
those trails that would go back to the schools,
yeah.
to the school campus. I don't remember the result of that. Do you
Well, they
remember
said
what
that they
said?
were gonna.
They're gonna
promoted
rebuild
they were
it.
gonna Keep the bridge or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any pedestrian improvements being considered for Pleasant Hill Road between like the Pleasant Hill neighborhood and the street trail? Now that we have that.
Street trail.
Just thinking
Oh.
now that we have Eastern Trail.
You mean
it
like,
would
well,
be nice to build a better connection between that Pleasant Hill.
so we do have, yeah, the wider shoulders on Pleasant Hill up to Highland. And then Roger and I were just talking about this afternoon is that I do see a need from Highland to Spurwink now, because Spurwink now either has the sidewalk that goes back to Higgins, or going the other way has the has a bike lanes to go to Cape Elizabeth. And that seems like a very glaring piece that's missing. I know the public works director has mentioned the next priority that he has heard or talked about with residents is Fog Road. So it's really
It's a really big.
trying to see where you kind of rank it with whether maybe that section, we were talking about that too earlier today, Roger and I, it's like, does it make sense to start with kind of the main corridors? Like you start with Black Point, Pleasant Hill and Broad Turn and like kind of those main major collectors, or some of the side streets, which I guess Fog Road was maybe considered a minor collector, kind of connecting, but you're not connecting to anything really until you do Pleasant Hill. I know you mentioned, Roger, they have shoulders on Black Point Road, but maybe not on the other end.
Right.
But no, I don't, it's not in the 5-year CIP. For Public Works. So I'm trying to narrow down where we're at so far, and
I wish we had Jen here for some insight with that, because I feel like she's the most knowledgeable. And it is important to kind of pick the intersection that, to give it some good consideration or thought before we pick one.
so. As I go down through though, I think what might help you guys and limit it a little bit is, as I go down through our list, is, I guess Payne Road is still on the table. There has been safety project done at Broad Turn and Burnham, still on the table, could be Broad Turn at Homes. The Beach Ridge at Scotto Hill and Payne, I guess I would suggest waiting because they're not gonna be able to collect any data. And then we won't know which direction it goes, so I would recommend kind of pausing on that one. The Payne at Two Rod, as I mentioned, I have some preliminary designs that I want to put in front of you guys to look at. Muzzy at Payne, the signal is just become operational, so we're kind of waiting to see how that one works. Highland at Pleasant Hill, I would say still on the table. Gorham at Sawyer, still on the table, we just talked about. Gorham at Payne, we have done a safety audit in the past. I don't think we would be selected again so quickly. So I'm gonna suggest maybe taking that one off. Gorham at Running Hill, I talked about, we just got selected out of only 3. To do a feasibility study, and they're gonna be basically doing a safety audit as they go through that design, so. I would say that's happening through another process. Beach Ridge, Gorham Road and Saco Street is out at the triangle, out in North Scarborough, which. that and County Road at Gorham Road, those two, I would put in a bucket of that DOT is looking at it as part of Portland West. And I can talk, I have also on my updates to talk to you guys about that. And they are looking at a lot of safety issues and ways to address that. So they're coming up with some potential projects. So I would say kind of pause on that. And then the last one is Holmes, Payne Road and Scarborough Downs, which will very much be a part of the Downs traffic movement permit that
They're
they're,
working on that now.
I mean, that is their front door. The traffic, I would say the crashes. It was not a high crash location, obviously, until the Downs came in, and it wasn't a high crash location until a lot of the traffic got generated from the Downs. So I think it's really kind of on their plate to look at addressing that,
Are
right?
they gonna be doing a safety audit, or would that actually be all the more reason that we should do that as a safety audit? So
I
they
would
can
say-
get their plans.
They're traffic engineers. Essentially, that's the first step in the design process, is say, okay, how do we address the safety concerns? And so it'd be part of their design work. So basically, they're taking it way beyond what a safety audit would do. But through their consultants and traffic engineers. And with DOT review during the process. So I'm down to 4, if that helps you guys. And one of which I will say you could point to that was voted on and ranked the highest.
Yeah.
And Peter, I'm sorry.
No, Angela, I was just summarize exactly that point. We like rationally speaking, we're not talking about 8 or 9 options. We're really talking about 4, and a few of them have some obvious prioritization needs. So maybe we just focus on those and come up with a recommendation.
If it helps too, Peter, the broad turn at Holmes Road, I believe is outside of compact area, which means
Would be.
DOT is already looking at it for safety improvements, just kind of like they did for broad turn at Burnham. I don't know where it lands on their priority list. It could be low, I'm not sure. But technically it's their jurisdiction to address, where some of these other ones, the land firmly in our responsibility, our jurisdiction to kind of address, where DOT would not be looking at them. If that helps
That
you.
is helpful, Angela, and I think it probably warrants us taking it off the list for this, so we're now down to 3. But it would be helpful to know where the DOT is prioritizing that. So maybe that's a follow-up item.
Okay, I can do that.
But I think it does the fact that it's outside of the DOT compact means that we should probably take it off for this recommendation.
So what are the 3?
Paint at Roundwood.
Okay.
That wasn't part of the Payne Road corridor that you were talking about. Already had said.
No, that's Paint at Gorham.
Did
And that's what we were talking about originally. They were kind of, the crashes, I think, were not connected in nature. That's what we talked about
I
earlier.
think Peter's mentioned this, but I do agree that you have to look at basically Mussey, that
Yeah.
intersection and the Gorham together, so I don't know that.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So then it brings you down to Highland at Pleasant and Gorham and Sawyer.
Pleasant did have quite a showing.
And if you look at,
Yeah. What's interesting, there's nothing about anything in the Dunstan area.
none of them does, it is interesting.
Which is a
I think you'll get
disaster for
segments.
intersection.
I think we have Route 1, Dunstan to Orchard Street, is more about kind of the probably backing up the traffic. And
Yeah.
also, as you know from the planning board experience, when like Evergreen went in,
Yeah.
it's great to have a lot of traffic going by your frontage, but if you can't get in and out of your site, it's not good. It's not a good site. To try to, so left turns and trying to get in and out of any of those through that corridor is problematic at best.
you said lean towards, that's now, but I think Gorham Road, like Greg said, a lot of that is pedestrian improvements that's needed to on sidewalk at that
So,
intersection.
so what do you want us to support?
Support an app, me putting in an application, yeah, for one of those intersections.
For just one of them?
Yep.
Which one would you want?
And just so I have some justification for why I did what I did. That's helpful.
We could do, when's it due?
September. Beginning of September.
We could do an email feedback and just so we can get feedback from Jen or Sean. I don't know if that's where the.
Would it make any sense? Do we have any kind of traffic counts for those three intersections to get any idea which one is more heavily traveled? Like, for instance, I'm getting at Payne Road at Roundwood.
It's probably nice.
Well, I thought we just took that off the table, though, so we wanna look at it holistically with Gorham,
Yeah.
Rockwood and Muzzy
So
together.
you took that one on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think we're narrowed down to Highland and Pleasant and Gorham and Payne. And I guess when I look at it, if you're down to those two, I guess wouldn't you go to where we kind of got feedback from the public? I think you can't go wrong. I mean, we could do a safety audit for every single one of these, and it's not like you're picking
So
the
you
wrong choice,
wanna go
right?
with Highland and,
I guess I'm just thinking there's justification in it, like how do you justify not listening to the public feedback?
okay,
Unless you have a good, like you said, maybe there is a good reason.
I
That
guess that's
I
why
get from you
it would
guys.
be great to kind of get Jen's point of view, because I feel like often. There might be from like kind of a professional traffic engineering opinion that one could be, could have a greater, but I agree, Angela, that it does make sense to go with that one, Pleasant Hill, since that had the greatest concern.
I just think it would be helpful to do it in the public setting too.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate what you're saying about going through with email, but I think if we're down to two, I don't think you can really go wrong. And I will say the other piece of the forum at Sawyer, we have petitioned DOT to do a speed study through there because we did spend town of Scarborough on local dollars. We invested a lot of money in that corridor through there with the multi-use path, the flashing beacon, the medians to try to slow traffic down. We did, and they always say it's not easy to lower a speed limit. And DOT is very much of the opinion you need to do the improvements first and show that you can slow the traffic down, and then they do a speed study and can lower it based on the fact that people are going slower. And we actually followed the direction and spent, $4 million on a section of road, and now we're asking for them to lower the speed limit. So that might come into play too as we try to lower that. I don't know how long it's gonna take. And then, like I said, we have in the works, I have a design plan for a sidewalk to get around that corner. I don't have room for necessarily a bike lane. But so yeah. Yeah.
Angela, I think you make the compelling argument on the public response issue. I think as a group we do have a certain responsibility to the town when they talk to us. So yeah, I've been inclined to just call it Pleasant Hill and Highland and say that's a good choice.
I think this is a really good discussion though, that is really helpful.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to get the rest of your opinions on where you guys are at.
And very informative too, Angela. I appreciate kind of knowing the status of where we are on some of these other longer term work with the DOT and longer term projects. It is very helpful.
So what would the approach be, for example, for Payne Road and Roundwood if we don't choose that as this application?
It will be probably part of the discussion with the Downs, it'll be a discussion with DOT, it'll be discussion with, probably our regional partners with GPCOG and PAC, so it'll probably go on the next, right now we have a Connect 2050, where we've kind of mapped out the next 25 years of, transportation projects for the region and where we rank. Running Hill Road was one of those, that's why they get selected, because we're already in that kind of list in that queue. And it could be around that where we get into the next update, to look at that as kind of this holistic approach. I think it probably will take a CIP in front of council to do design work. So we really need to pull in consultants and traffic engineers to kind of look at that. I will say that also the school Eight Corners improvements and what is gonna be in front of the planning board. And with that, their enrollment doubles to that location. So looking at what their offsites might look like is also a piece to this puzzle.
Does community services do after school care? So
They do at the schools,
that's at.
is my understanding.
Cause that would be a certain argument to have a pedestrian connection between corners.
Well, I think it's important also to recognize
They
that
don't have-
the House of Lights is only a lease arrangement, and it's not a particularly long-term lease. And that remains an ongoing question for the town council on what our strategy is around community center space. So, planning around House of Lights being a community center is not necessarily a good long-term plan.
It was also a couple of years ago. You recall there was an effort on the part of one of the long-term, hotels out there to convert to.
Oh, right, to housing.
And it was
Yeah.
rejected by both the planning board as well as
Yeah.
the town council because of lack of pedestrian safety. Especially if there's kids living there,
Mhm.
trying to get across to go into school, or anything, going shopping or anything. So it's an issue.
The trouble is, Angela, I think you make a good point about the school. The construction work and the staging of the construction work over what's probably a 5 to 7 year time horizon makes it difficult for results to come out of that area that would be transmittable for the long term.
Regarding the Pleasant Hill, Highland Avenue intersection, which is the one I think you're leaning towards.
Yeah,
I don't know whether you probably don't agree with this, but I don't see. I see that as a cautious intersection people respect. And I don't see a number of problems with that intersection, but I understand that's what
the data shows.
the data shows, so
Yeah.
I would support that, I guess, but to me, there's more, important intersection.
To go further into the data though, that intersection was the only intersection here that didn't have a single collision resulting in injury. It was only minor fenders.
Yeah.
And when you think about the dangerous intersections, it's the intersections causing injury that really are the most dire, as opposed to the ones that are just, creating some density.
Yeah, that goes back to your point, right?
Yeah.
Right, you're seeing.
So there just must be a ton of fender benders at that intersection.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see somebody at that intersection starting to go, and then all of a sudden another car is going, and so
Yeah.
they stop, and
Yeah.
there's somebody backing the action on.
we
Yeah,
have that, the.
That way.
Yes, yeah, it's,
Yep.
So this, like if you're looking at the percent injury, the ones that are the worst injury, well, Musty Road and Payne Road was, but hopefully that's mostly solved with the light. Payne Road and Two Rod Road, which Angela's looking at, which is good. Broadturn and Burnham, which is also hopefully will be reduced with a new four-way stop there. Beach Ridge, Gorham, Saco Street. It's Portland West.
So do all these other intersections have wheels in motion?
Actually, Gorham Road and Sawyer Road are 50% injury. And one fatality there, so that's if you're comparing that to Highland and Pleasant,
Yep.
0% injury.
Which one was that one? Sorry.
Gorham Road and Sawyer Road has the same amount of crashes as Highland and Pleasant Hill.
That was one of my arguments to DOT on Gorham and Sawyer, is that we had the fatality. They view it as not a fatality, and that's what I'm struggling with, to get me to help, for them to help us with that.
Why they say so?
It was a crash that resulted in, I think a day or two later, there was the fatality, but not at the scene or at the accident. It was an elderly person that then later passed in the hospital or something like that. That's what they're, for some reason, I'm having a hard time with them seeing that as, because I would think also that would jump to the top, right? And that they should be trying to help us, trying to solve this problem. And that, so yeah, that is, like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with selecting either of these. Like, I know it sounds like I'm leaning one way or the other, because I'm just gonna probably hear from the public on why I selected what I did, so that's why I need you guys to weigh in if we go. It was helpful to base it on something, which basing it on kind of the public feedback at Summerfest, or I can base it on you guys. And I just really, because we have a lot going on, I would love to get this into PAX as soon as possible, rather than waiting, well, another month, we'll be past the deadline.
Okay, so does the data support Highland and Pleasant Hill?
So the data, I would argue, doesn't, because Gorham Road and Sawyer Road have a 50% injury of the crashes that are there.
Okay,
And-
let's go with that one.
Pleasant Hill and Highland have a 0%
Yeah.
injury of the crashes there, which is kind of keeping with what Roger's saying, that
Mhm.
that's a intersection that isn't particularly dangerous injury wise, but you're having a lot of fender benders. And yeah, with the fatality at Gorham and Sawyer and the 50% injury rate, it would seem, at least data wise, to be a much more dangerous intersection.
And what is the rest of the group thinking? Does that make sense, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think either of those two would be fine. I don't have a strong opinion, one or the other. I think they're both
Okay,
good decisions.
what are you thinking, Tuck?
I agree with Craig, so.
Roger? You're agreeing,
Yeah, the soy.
Sorry.
and then Peter, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts would, because we got the public feedback, I think it's important to recognize that. But I think there is something compelling about recognizing the fact that there was effectively a fatality, whether or not the state recognizes it. So I think that does kind of, I think the public would understand why we would focus on that.
Okay,
If we look at straight numbers too, it was at Summerfest 30 for Gorham Road, Sawyer Road, 50 for Pleasant Hill, Highland, so it wasn't like it was too major of a difference.
Yep.
30 and 50,
Yeah,
that's pretty significant.
yeah, I guess I mean it's not, it's not like 5 and 50.
I think it just points out that there were more people at Summerfest from that area.
Yeah,
Or more than,
I mean, I would go with the data more than I would the little piggy banks. You know, seriously.
what is the quarter?
for some reason, there were 2 quarters in my piggy banks. And I didn't know whether to count them as one vote, because I found the quarter first, and I was like, well, I don't wanna just put one vote, and then I saw the second quarter, and I think someone just pulled out 2 quarters.
those are 25.
Although I did suspect, I was like, well, I did leave Roger and Tuck alone for about 15 minutes, so maybe they were giving up quarters.
25 votes each.
I saw a top 10 for pennies.
25 pennies. They got a bunch.
Alright, so it sounds like the majority is comfortable with that, and I have no problem, that I've been trying, to get movement on that. It's one of the intersections.
Plus
that we've done that for a while.
vehicles that are traveling along Gorham Road, as they come to that Sawyer Road, they're going at a pretty good clip, I think.
Right, that's why,
Where at the intersection of Pleasant Hill and Highland, is slowing down.
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's just confusing.
It's not though, cause I've stood there multiple times
Oh,
where
really?
people come up, that's why I said, coming from Route 1, coming up over the crest. People are at high speed and not touching the brakes going through that intersection.
Oh, I
will
haven't
say
seen
this.
that yet.
Yes, and that's where we have repeatedly heard from that resident that's right there on the corner, she looks out her window and sees it all day long.
Oh.
And so that's why we have gone out multiple times, and
Is this a yearly application? So is it,
Um,
is something we can do work?
I think it's just periodic, like we had put in, like I said, for Gorham at Payne a few years ago, so. I don't know if I don't think it's every year, but it comes around at least every couple of years or every few years.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't we go to the next topic, but before we do, can we let these?
I was just gonna suggest that too, that I will
Otherwise-
move ahead with
I know
Warren
they find this very
at
exciting.
Sawyer. And then the next thing that, because we do have only 20 minutes left, and so I was gonna run through my updates, which ahead of that, if someone wants to request a public comment, if there's that, I am happy to watch.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, guys, here, I'll request that.
And we don't drive at night and the sun goes down at 7:30. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm Pat Jones and I am a resident of Kayla Vale, a woman's retirement home on Black Point Road, 382 Black Point Road. We are 15 senior women. You can come into Kayla Vale from ages 65 to 95. But right now.
We have 100-year-old.
But we're talking about when you're allowed to apply, and but you can stay there for longer, if have lived there. And, our demographics is, of the 15 of us, we are all over 80 years old. And there are 10 who are older than 85. And you will be hearing from some of them. And I do want you to just give your name so they.
Gail Crowley.
Sandy, just give your name.
Oh, Sandy Elder. Emily Delmonico.
Yes, so these are some of our members who wanted to come and share some things that they're wanted you to know about. So we're mainly here to talk about the Connect service. I was thrilled to see the new bus, and I met Mike. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah, I met Mike at that wonderful, you had a lot of civic groups, and it was wonderful to be able to talk to him, and he said this meeting was going to be held tonight. And the Connect service is something that we badly need down at Black Point Road. And many of us do not drive, or we have limited ability to drive, and you'll be hearing more about that from some of these other women. And we are kind of confused about where the Connect service is exactly, with where it's going to be going. We have participated in, Sandy and I we rode the bus on Route 1, the Biddeford number 60 bus. We went into Portland. We wanted to find out how to do that. We went, Gail from the hub took us on a tour with the bus. There were 4 of us from this house to Old Orchard, and she went over as much as she knew about this. We're very concerned that what we're hearing is that there is a trial period of 1 year before the program for the Connect will expand, and it will not include our area of Black Point Road. And we're here to advocate and answer any questions for you that we have, that we badly need this service in October of 2026. We did write a letter, every one of us signed the letter to the council members. And we spoke to some of the council members individually about what our needs were. And they were very gracious to us, and the chair immediately wrote back and said that they would take our concerns seriously and see how they could try to accommodate us. So that's the background work that we've done so far. And yes, there are some people who have family in the area. That doesn't always work, as probably you know, and there'll be more talk about that from Emily. And people are younger children who are, working and raising families, and we have suddenly need a doctor's appointment and they can't be available. So having this community service is greatly needed. I do want to thank you for your service to our community, for all the work you've done, and I know it takes a lot of hours away from your family and other things you have to deal with. And we will be attending the meeting that Gail told us about on September 24th. I don't know where that meeting's going to be, but she said that we needed to be there to talk more about the Connect program. And I want to turn this over to Emily because she has a personal story to tell you about why she needs this service.
Well, I have reached the age of 100 and perforce I had to, stop driving. My kids said my reaction time has got to be slower than it used to be, and I could kill somebody. So with that on my mind, I decided, I guess I better do that. So I gave up my car, and I find that the older I get, the more doctor's appointments I have. It's very, very difficult for me to find transportation. And I have one son that lives in Westbrook, and I had to call on him today to take me somewhere. All the ladies are gracious. There's so many of them that cart me around. But I really would like to be more independent. It's hard on them, gas is high and it takes time out of their days too. I appreciate all they do. We're just like sisters, but there comes a time when it gets embarrassing to have to beg for a ride, and I have no other way of doing it. Places like Piper Shores have their own bus, and we don't have that. We're independent living there, so we don't have those amenities. And if there was some way, maybe if it were just a few days a week, it wouldn't have to be a regular schedule, but make some effort for us to be able to take, and there are several of us now that are in the 90s, and they will be, pretty soon won't be able to drive anymore either. So it's going to be a problem for us, and I'm assuming that there are other older people in that area that could also use the service. So that's my problem. I find it very difficult to get around, and I'm housebound too, really. And it would make my life easier, and so many more that would need that service. And so there's something to throw out to you, even if it weren't the full week, but maybe a few days of the week that we could schedule, so that it would be easier to execute.
Can I ask you what that address on Black Point Road is and how far you guys are from there?
It's 382.
382.
It is, there's some talk about the bus stopping at the Fog Road,
Right.
which is near,
How far away from that intersection are
like 2 miles, like 2 miles beyond it.
I
We're
live
beyond the
near-
fire station.
Oh, okay.
I live near you.
Like I said, just
You
beyond
do,
the
you do.
I live on the corner of Black Point and Ferry Road.
Oh,
So I know where, and I wondered when this possibility came up, whether you would
You looking for
have the availability
They're all the way down here.
for
No.
this.
no,
it? It's
And I'm
bigger.
sorry about that.
yeah.
Here is.
Do you know where 77 comes out onto
Yeah.
Blackbone,
It
and
should
just
be-
beyond
should be
that?
right
Just
around-
beyond
right
that.
around
Fire,
here somewhere.
past the fire station.
Yes, that's real far down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the discussion that I have had a bit with Metro, is if they could get funding for a second, van.
Yeah.
Then they could really cover a much greater area of town. And that I personally think, would be a cost-effective way of bringing this service to a much greater number of people. It's something that would require town council funding. But, I'm all for advocating for that. I think it's really, I've made it.
I just asked if you consider it.
You're just one of many, seniors in our town that are outside of the block. That really, this would be a game changer for the quality of life. To have access to that public transportation, so, I wanna see that expanded as soon as possible. Practically, that would be an additional funding request.
Yeah, and just to go back to, I think your original, we, I believe, have a 3-year kind of pilot program. So council has allocated funding for those first 3 years, and then it will go back to council to reassess on whether they either go in as a full member of Metro, meaning we're sticking with this as it becomes a permanent, or if they pull out of it, because at that point they can kind of make that decision. So my understanding is the funding has been secured to get us through those 3 years. And as far as the area goes, back to Stannis's point, it was based on, the area was kind of carved out of what can one van do? 2 vans, then expand it, 3 vans, you can go west of the turnpike, like it can keep growing. And with that comes, like we said, it's a subsidized service, so it would be council allocating funds for that and prioritizing it, which it sounds like at this point, council has been supportive of it. It was definitely a conversation at council. I'm not gonna say it was an easy conversation. And this committee was the big driving force in being an advocate for the service to even start. And I think council heard that from Age Friendly was the other group in the transportation committee. As really kind of wanting to kind of kick this off and move this forward. I will say Metro did talk about kind of trying to work with us to kind of expand here and there. We also had heard from residents not necessarily wanting it to go near the beaches as being problematic. I'm just saying, that was the last public meeting we had.
Angela,
that it would be a bigger conversation with council, I guess is what, and that's where it goes back to, going back to council, but I think you have the support of this group.
Yeah, thank you.
If I could comment, Angela, and I'm certain, I think certainly the story is compelling, and I certainly support it. But there have been groups in Prouts Neck and in the Black Point area that have resisted access programs for the beaches, and I would encourage you to reach out to the Prouts Neck Association and to the other membership organizations down there to get their support for what you're looking for. That would make a big difference because in the past they have been vocal not supporting access to the beaches for folks, but I think they would find I would think they would want to support you folks as neighbors. So I would encourage you to do that. And certainly, as Angela said and others have said, I think you tell a compelling story from our perspective.
Thank you. And we will go to our board who are entwined with that group. And yes, but one other thing, as far as the funding that Mike mentioned, I would like to add, in case these are hard times, there's a lot of agenda items on for the council to fund. And I'm just still looking at, could they come 2 more miles down that road for our house for 15 limits?
This is residential transportation access. This is not about transportation on beaches, people. So I think you have a legitimate case.
I understand. I'm just kind of observing what we've seen at the zoning board and in other forums. So yeah,
it's residential.
Yeah,
individuals who don't have transportation.
You're
a group.
Yeah,
you're preaching to the choir.
You know the investor property down at Stone.
That sounds good.
Have you had any? Has the town had comments from Cause it doesn't go down there either, does it?
That the micro transit does.
Oh, it does,
Yep.
okay, okay, all right.
I will also add that there are women at our house that live on social security only. They're driving old rust buckets, some of them, and looking at having to buy another car at our age. And even the used cars are hard, they're expensive these days.
Yeah.
If you're living on social security, so we wanted to make our case, I think we did. And I feel wonderful that you seem very responsive and supportive of us.
I think you're going in the right path though, is the communication with council.
Yeah.
And the council chair, like I said, it's good that
And
he's
he's
responsive.
been
to
very,
it.
very warm and supportive.
Yeah. And also, like you said, us hearing your
Yes.
concerns here at transportation, that we, as things come in front of council for agenda
Yes.
items. We've been known in the past, this committee has been known in the past to write memos or letters kind of supporting kind of certain initiatives, so. As
Wonderful.
things come up.
Thank you very much.
I
And
guess
it's
it-
almost 7:30 and getting dark. Yes,
See potential
You all
also
did.
buying on.
I
a
drove,
second
but I
phase
don't
with
drive in the
dedicated
dark.
to it, like
And
reserve.
I'd love to come to more civic,
prioritize
I'd love to come to more civic meetings and volunteer for the town, but a lot of them are in
Get
the.
creative around it, yeah.
And we can't, it's dangerous. It's me on the road.
Listening to it.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, your jacket here, Gail, forget.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Sorry about.
I'm good.
Yeah, get a look at that word here.
That's fine.
Are you sure? Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay. It is about 7:30, so I'm gonna go through rapid fire. Cause I think we've kind of touched on a lot of the updates when we were talking
Yeah.
earlier anyway. The Eastern Trail, we did the ribbon cutting on August 6th, and I was out of town, so I was not able to make it. I know Jen was there with her whole family. I'm hoping
I was there.
some of you guys were there. I was hoping, yeah, good. It sounds like a very big turnout.
Yeah, very well. I was surprised how well attended
Yeah,
it was.
Awesome.
A lot of people just there to watch and a lot of people that were about to use it. A lot of people with bikes and,
You guys run the spec check?
oh, yeah, handful times. It's nice, it's awesome. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
amount of, usage, the last couple of years, our cross-country team, we've utilized the kind of the section of the Eastern Trail between Eastern Road and where the bridge, was built with an touch.
Yep.
And the only people out there would be people walking their dogs, because it's a relatively short section, there's not really much room to do anything else other than maybe a short walk.
Yeah.
But now if you go there, I mean, the amount of through traffic of runners, it's people biking, walking, is significantly increased. It's cool, it's good to see it getting used.
Yeah.
Anyway,
John Brothers did a great job, going ahead of schedule, just to remind you that that project is not really full completion until a year from October.
Wow.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say is we probably will want to think about, or the Trail Association might want to think about signage, because I think managing walkers versus runners versus bikers is going to get more challenging when you have the through speed of the bikers pick up.
I was on the Eastern Trail, not that section, but I was on the Eastern Trail, near the marsh right before the meeting, and they have speed limit signs up there now. I don't know if that's how new that
On the
is.
trail?
Yeah, it's 15 mile an hour speed limit signs. Posted,
Yeah,
I don't know how closely that's followed, but.
Yeah, because
it's the first time I've seen that.
I was out there over the weekend with the dog and walking that, because my parents live on just off the Eastern Road there, and was walking with the dog down there, and what I found was, first off, it was great to see how many people were out there. It was really cool. But the bikers were just notching up the speed a little bit more than they do on the straight section that goes over the marsh. Because I think the straight section, you can see a lot further down. You can see a lot more of where your traffic obstacles and your walkers and things are going to emerge from. And because that section to the bridge is so twisty and turny, you can go faster than your sight lines might allow. So it might just be something for us for as a broad transportation committee to take a look at, or for the Parks and Rec folks to think about too.
So,
I was just gonna say, my wife coming down, Pleasant Hill Road, down the hill by Hannaford. She made the comment to me that there really should be like a sign, just alerting drivers.
like an advanced warning of.
Yeah, advanced warning sign. As you're coming down the hill, you know?
Yep.
I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, it was, it felt awkward the first time going through, because there's a light that's never been there before. I've driven the
Yeah.
road 1,000 times. But I think the more people do it, the more they get used to it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I can see that being,
and then just
Helpful.
making sure people are actually pushing the button to use the light is
Yeah.
always sometimes a
Or
challenge.
somebody could push the button just as somebody's coming down the hill too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, it's just a precautionary measure. Before something really,
That's a good point.
really
Yep.
happens, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's, it's getting used a lot. So there's a lot of people going through
Yeah, so.
in a
hopefully
spot that
people
there
will get
weren't
used to
before,
that,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metro Connect was my next update. There is a potential soft rollout launch in October 5th. That date has not been firmed up yet, so I will definitely let this committee know when that happens. And Metro has talked about the first, whether that's the first month or how many weeks that they would have the service be free to try to get people to utilize it. So, I can roll that out once that gets firmed up on dates and, we were talking, internally, our staff, about also doing, some public, outreach by having, like, have Tom Hall write it to work and do a video and stuff like that. So trying to get, I think the more, I know this group is definitely a huge advocate for it. The more we can kind of keep pushing that out in the public and get the usage up. That's the whole key to the whole thing, right? Is to make sure people are aware of it and how easy it was. That's why I was really pushing Metro to show up with the van, because I think it's important for people to be able to climb in the van and see the van, and this is
That
what
van
that's
is-
gonna, you know what I mean?
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's a
it is.
really,
Yeah.
it feels like I mean, it's a minibus, right?
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's not like you're packing into a,
Right.
like, community services.
Right,
Not
cushy
packing
seats
in,
and,
you're-
yeah,
you're
Now,
getting
now the
into a
mic, that was the microbus.
that is the microtrans
Now,
van, yeah.
and that would not go down to Kettleville?
Right now, the service area, I think their right stops at Fog Road,
Okay.
so it includes the Pleasant Hill area, but that your neighborhood, Roger.
Yeah.
But it does not continue down.
Yeah.
And the
But-
radius around how big was the radius around the main route where the minivan the van would go? Was it like a mile or a mile and a half?
What, oh, you mean from the fixed line?
Yeah, for the fixed line.
It's not like
I'm not sure.
kind of goes along with the contours of the town. It's not like a circle.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it's,
Yeah.
some areas are, yeah, like Dunstan, it narrows up, cause you're
Yeah.
going across the marsh, whereas the area by Oak Hill obviously goes down to Fog Road, so it does kind of, is a blob, yeah.
The Mike, who's, I'm not sure what his exact title is, but he was in charge of kind of putting together
He's the
Um,
planner, yeah.
yeah, planner.
Metro, yeah.
he did a lot of like data analysis and regression and stuff to basically maximize the population within an area that a single van could serve. So the contours are based on including the greatest number of residents and businesses as possible.
And we did
So it
point
so-
out.
So it
in
really
that
was the
process-
distance thing. Sorry.
No, they asked and staff tried to point out, in their process where our senior housing was. So they could kind of see those pinpoints, so I think that we have more heavily. Like I said, 2 miles kind of outside the service area might be maybe too much for them to kind of show that, but
No, I bet you.
it's also, it might depend on if they have the capacity to service them. They may service them, right? If things get very, very popular and the wait time gets longer, which is a good thing, that means we're successful, then maybe they need to actually shrink the area up in order to accommodate kind of our needs. So I think it's,
Of course.
right now, it's flexible based on our need. Right?
I wouldn't be surprised though if you look at that area like down Black Point Road and everything, they would get more activity. Someplace like Caleb Vale, even though there's only 15 ladies living there.
I kind of liked it, even the idea, and Stanley's mentioned it, is like kind of being creative around it, right? Like trying to think outside the box a little bit. If there's certain days, maybe there's low service days, they have lower
Mondays,
numbers on
Tuesdays.
certain days, like Mondays or, yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
Mondays or Tuesdays, that they could service certain time periods, like between 11 and 3, we can service this area on certain days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're willing to do that. I'm just kind of throwing out that it seems like there's opportunity to kind of think outside the box a little bit too.
That's something I would never thought of.
Yeah.
So it's good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also
Okay.
worth maybe a call to Piper Shores and say, hey, there are 15 ladies roughly a quarter mile from you guys. Could you consider maybe having a run a day to help them out? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll do
I
that.
know somebody who can do that for them. I know the president of the board
There you go.
of Taylor Vale is my landlord.
Thank you.
She can make that call.
I mean, that was a great story. I gotta say, that was a really great story to hear from the ladies. It was really, really lovely.
And it's remarkable there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that need is there. I mean, we work sometimes in our bubble and thinking we're doing good, but it's good to hear that that's really a need and that we're heading in the right direction too.
Yeah.
Okay, Portland West. Their DOT was at Summerfest also. They have started developing some rough high level alternatives is what they're calling it. And they've kind of put it in some buckets. They have a no build, a renovation light, renovation heavy, which I would say those two buckets are really focused on safety improvements. And then they have new road light and new road heavy, where new road light would be a 2-lane road, say along the same pathway that MTA was kind of mapping out, and that would be 1 lane in each direction, plus a barrier or a large gap to a very large, like a multi-use path or something that would be for walkers, bikers, kind of off-road, off the road, I should say. And then new road heavy is the MTA's proposal, where they had the 4-lane section. So those are kind of the buckets they're laying out. The no build is obviously the baseline to say if we do nothing, here's kind of how they're kind of projecting out. And at this point, they have scheduled out some public meetings to start kind of rolling out and getting feedback. The first one being September 22nd, which is an in-person only meeting in Gorham. It's at Shaw Gym. So I am putting it on my calendar. I'll plan to be there.
What date is our transportation?
Is that? I thought it was a Thursday.
Well, at least right here it says
Oh,
our next.
oh, that stinks. I kind of wanted to be there. You're right, it's a Tuesday. Maybe we could, there is another week in September, we could meet for the 29th, if
I definitely want to go to
you guys are supportive of that. There is also a virtual meeting on the 24th. Which I did attend the last virtual meeting, and I feel like being in person might be more beneficial.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know, did you go to both last time, Stannis, or?
I did,
And what would
it
you?
was very sparsely attended, but it was
Oh,
also,
really?
yeah, I mean, I think there were like 6 people on the virtual meeting call.
Well, I was on that one, but I didn't know if in person, if it was.
The person was pretty sparse, considering that,
Yeah.
Importance, but.
Yeah.
But it's also because there wasn't really discussed at that point.
Yeah,
What I'm concerned about is, there isn't any community involvement in this stage where they're coming up with alternatives. And, I think that's a huge miss because, it's, I think some kind of your standard, traffic study is in a silo and comes up with these alternatives and then says, what do you like, what do you think, what's your feedback on it? But the community wasn't involved in actually helping to design those alternatives. And what, if you really want to have community, input and communities to come together to make the best possible solution, it's bringing them in at that design stage.
I guess just because I want to be able to pull out kind of what you're trying to say, because I'm doing a lot with like, it's hard sometimes taking engineering, kind of pulling out kind of public feedback, or like to your point, is sitting at the table, which I know they've had public meetings. And I know we kind of dealt with this a little bit with East Grand, is unless someone has something to react to, you get maybe, like you said, you have these people show up and they're like, there was nothing really to talk about because there's nothing to react to. You kind of need something to react to though, right? I mean, to your point of having people at the table, what are they?
The problem with that, at that first meeting, they were just asking a very broad, like, rank the goals, like safety, mobility. But I'm talking about actually like what do you think this could improve this intersection, for example? Because what the community might want to see could be different than what someone in Massachusetts who's studying it from, Google Maps or whatever might, that never drives through and doesn't live there might come up with. And like someone posted online that there was a suggestion to turn the triangle into a one-way, which would be such a bad idea for that area. For a lot of reasons. One, it wouldn't really help much because right now, the way that triangle works, you kind of have traffic sort of splitting between County Road and 114. You'd still have the same number of intersections. Try to turn that into a one-way thoroughfare. And it kind of ruins a neighborhood to turn your streets into one-ways. You see, like in Portland, that they're a kind of a similar triangle around Park Street and Congress Street by
Libby Town.
Yeah, they're getting rid of that
Yep.
one way because it's
Yep.
bad for mobility, it's bad for pedestrian, it's bad for biking. And it kind of it turns the neighborhood into kind of a convoluted traffic centered flow.
But I think that's helpful for you to be able to see that and say, here's the reasons why this doesn't work. And have you looked at, here's other pieces of other designs and say, I like kind of this part of it, but have you thought about tweaking this or that? Like, I still feel like with the public, they need something to react to. Like, you wouldn't be able to say that unless you knew that's what they're thinking, right?
They're up for the conversation, but
Yeah.
I guess my
You
fear
don't
is
think they're
that,
up for the conversation?
well, is that a lot of work goes into like these alternatives being presented to the public, and then people complain and say like, that's a bad idea, and then they say, oh, no, people don't want anything.
Yeah.
But if there's or that it becomes some people want this, some people want that, but there isn't I guess I brought this up in the kind of initial meeting that we had before the most people, that what seemed like a really good example of how you bring the community together to find a solution is what we did with the schools, where you brought in, the community to really work on the solution together in a kind of a committee setting with the consultants. as opposed to the consultants figure out a solution and present it and then get feedback at a public meeting, that there was, that involving the community in the actual design, one, brings more community momentum to like feeling that you're a part of creating the solution. You're not just reacting to something. And I guess, yeah, I want to make sure that the Portland West study doesn't fall into the trap of designing solutions outside of community involvement and then just looking for community reaction.
You want bottom up and not top down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and bottom up results in more engagement.
Yeah, and then also, more engagement, and ultimately when you do find a solution that
And
that
therefore
works,
more
it's
buy-in,
usually,
too.
some sort of a compromise, like with the schools.
Yeah.
You end up having, even if not everyone agrees with it, the community is a lot more supportive because they've seen the work that went in and the compromises that were made, and that it's something that's coming from the community and not from, a top-down consultant.
So, I guess I'm thinking there's still a lot of time though.
Yeah.
So
there-
to the fact that they haven't rolled out, like I can't point to the website and tell you where those are, because they haven't kind of rolled out all these alternatives, which tells me that it's not fully baked. And that I like this feedback because I will go to DOT and talk about that. It's to say, I do think the public needs something to react to, because I've done too many public meetings where there's nothing to react to and you get spiraling to all over the place, and not a focused, here's direction for me to move forward. So I think it is good that they kind of wanna.
When they roll these things out, are they still open to changes, or
Well,
is
that's
it
what I'm
just
saying,
what
it's
you get?
helpful to say, we need a process when you kind of roll these out. Is to look at, from my point of view, again, and maybe East Grand is the worst way to do it, but I feel like we went to the public and I gave 4 options. And they came up with a 5th option, and that's what we ran with. Like, to your point, we were saying, what do you like about each of these? What do you not like about each of these? What would you do different? And we kind of brainstormed at that and came up with a completely different option. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm hearing from you is to have an open conversation about each of the kind of alternatives and talk about what works, what doesn't work, how we could tweak it. And maybe you come up with these other 5 options based on kind of those conversations.
Well, which
Yeah.
I don't know what you
I
think.
think would be remarkable if they use the same model that they used before, which was a lot of time and money went into it, and it was a top-down version, which was resoundingly defeated or rejected by just about everybody.
I would not compare what they're doing now to MTA's
Okay.
approach. I think that's a little unfair.
Okay,
But the first one was bad.
There hasn't been any community,
well, I would hope not, okay, because that's not how to do it.
I'll reserve judgment until
Okay.
after there's been some more stuff, but it seems like the trajectory right now is basically what I was saying shouldn't happen, is that the solutions are designed and then presented to the public, and that it should be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, so it sounds like they need to be clear that these are the early concepts and ideas, and not, here's your 20 designs. This is what you know what I mean? It's not an a la carte thing, it's kind of ideas. You need to throw out ideas.
It would be really nice if there were a community advisory committee that could, similar to like the school process, that could meet.
Well, I want to be careful about the school process followed a failed process. But one of the
Yeah.
things the failed process did was establish in people's minds a number of straw men and a number of ideas that ended up forming the core of what the committee then used to debate and to kind of come up with. But had they started from scratch with that, I'm with Angela. I think they would have had to have started with a couple of straw men. The difference is I think what you're asking is that the DOT present their proposals with no investment. They effectively are, here are four different ideas we've got. We don't think any of them are perfect. We don't think any of them are buildable or shovel ready. We're not ready to do any of them, and we don't like any of them fundamentally, but they're starting places.
Yep.
And then you ask the community to react and begin the dialogue. But the dialogue has to begin somewhere, and to present a dialogue to an amorphous community with "give us what you got" is not a fruitful approach in my mind. So I'm with Angela.
Yeah, I know, I don't know what you think, everybody said, but I'm just saying, you gotta show something for public to react to, and then we have some direction to that more. And whether that means we now go to kind of this community stakeholder, and I don't know what, it'd be helpful maybe too, if you had thoughts around what that might look like.
Yeah, I guess
'Cause I'm still open, I
I-
think I'm open to that, is next steps, but we're still moving forward, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I can, if DOT is, and if this study, is, anticipating that there'd be that conversation around, here's initial drafts, let's work with community to refine them and really get the best possible solutions to then, ultimately put forward, then that is a really good model, and that is what I would like to see. What I was saying is that it felt like so far, and hopefully this is wrong, that the approach was, let's design the four solutions and then get, have a public feedback meeting and that be the kind of community engagement, and then decide which one is best. But you might end up having four kind of crappy solutions that aren't, that aren't the best that they possibly could be, because you didn't have the community in the conversation. So yeah, there can be kind of we can be kind of we maybe are to some extent on the same page, but it does require that, like, when kind of these draft solutions are put forward, that conversation be robust and be and that it is really important, and that it go beyond just a public meeting in the high school, and that it be more of like, let's bring people of this persuasion together and this persuasion together, similar to the school process. And let's talk about the merits, and let's talk about some of the details, and get some real kind of conversation around it, as opposed to just your typical kind of public meeting.
How would you see that going? That would be, because I think what you are describing is different than, like, okay, they stand in front of us and they present, and you're at a public meeting and you have a time for public comment or whatever, as opposed to what you're trying to map out. And I guess, because I think it would be helpful for me to have more detail of how you envision that kind of, is that.
Yeah, it could be like,
A
obviously,
70-person committee, I don't think is helpful, which it sounds like what the school started with. But how do you pick? Because I feel like what you're describing is we're sitting around the table and we're rolling up our sleeves, and you have the community sitting there, or community members, and DOT and other, interested parties as a group, and kind of working together. But how do you?
it definitely doesn't have to be as big as like the school committee was.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How would you see?
They're not direct comparisons, but yeah, having a community advisory committee that's made up of both commuters and residents of the area, that can kind of go beyond your typical, like, the advisory committee right now, I think has representatives from town staff, and JP Cogs involved too, but
And
to
like
get,
Coalition of Maine, and there's.
so you have some
Advocacy
organizational,
groups,
you know, representation there, but to also have, to have people that know that corridor really well, because like, because it's in kind of a corner of a bunch of different towns.
Yeah.
Often the town representatives aren't innately familiar with that corridor in a way that people who live there, who are at those intersections are, and who drive through every day. So yeah, it would be having a community advisory committee that could, kind of, give feedback in that, that sort of conversation setting, and could look kind of at, each intersection and give, diverse perspectives around it.
No, I like that.
With the same with the new road approach, what could work well. And it could be as small as like at this intersection, like we know that this neighbor here is not gonna want to, give up significant right of way. But this neighbor over here, is really wanting to have, additional, pedestrian infrastructure or whatnot. So maybe if we, instead of trying to build on this parcel, it could be small things like that that a neighborhood knows really well, but
Yeah.
But someone in an office, as an engineer might not understand.
Yeah.
some of those complexities.
Angela, this is really just the charrette approach, and almost every town uses it for its long range plan, or its comp plan, development. A lot of master plans are constructed this way, and it usually involves a stage of, and it could be 20 people, but it's often 40 or 50 people in a room experimenting and playing with different ideas, starting off of again, you start with a straw man because you need something, but then it's a straw man that's constructed almost of puzzle pieces that people are offered the opportunity to play with the pieces and make them work differently than the straw man does, but incorporates the views of everyone in the room at once. Autumn is doing this right now with the long range planning group on imagining different zoning constructs for the town. And it's very much a charrette approach where you start with some ideas, but those ideas are at the very beginning admitted to be, just starters, and everyone's invited to play with the materials that they're given, whether it's a road or a boundary or a type of zoning code or whatever, to construct a vision of a section of the town. And I hear very much the same thing kind of coming out as being suggested for what this connector, what the Portland North might look like, or Portland West. Sorry, I'll get the name right.
Yep. No, this is really good feedback. And I think I am not a facilitator. That's why whenever we have anything that needs to be facilitated, I drag Autumn to these meetings.
Autumn's awesome at this, by the way. She's really good.
Yeah, and MTA, that's where they kind of fell down, and DOT probably isn't used to doing this type of thing either, but they're a little better. But they know they need to do more at least, so we're in a better starting spot. So I feel like they're open to kind of these suggestions and trying to, like, I like that your phrasing to Peter about like kind of that charrette approach and kind of looking at, like, to your point also, that you're phrasing it with the users of these corridors. And that includes Westford, Gorham, Scarborough. They're also including Portland and South Portland and those because they have loud voices. I would like to try to kind of pick the brains around those that right around us first, but I understand that everything's connected. I just don't want it outweighed. If you know what I mean, if you have a committee, it's like, do you have like 4 from each community, or do you have 4 from some of these core communities and 2 or a lesser kind of from some of the, as you go out, you know what I mean? Because you also could do from Buxton or Standish or others as you kind of keep going out. That was one of the things Gorham staff brought up, is really kind of pulling in it more. It's a regional thing, so kind of pulling in more of those kind of surrounding communities too, is getting out to the western communities too. Is way.
The thing is, like what Peter was saying with the charrette, like the comp plan, the early one we used to do across the street.
Plan up
I
Palooza.
mean, yeah, you just let everybody know about it.
Yeah.
And then whoever wants to can show up and voice their opinion.
That was like a full day
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
it worked, I think it worked well at Higgins Beach when they did it a few years ago.
Okay.
All right, and essentially we just did the same thing down at Pine Point in a way, in the fire station when we were talking, we just invited the whole neighborhood there. And they came in and voiced it, remember we were putting dots and everything on.
Exactly, that's why we came up with a completely different approach.
So right away, you're accomplishing a number of things, I think.
Yeah.
Number one is you're alerting everybody that something's happening. So they better pay attention.
Mhm.
And if you are concerned, you gotta get engaged.
Yeah.
And so people can't come back later on and say, well, I didn't know this was happening,
I think to your point, you always harp on you beat the drum, Roger, of being going to the people. And so does
Yeah.
that mean we do it at the Grange Hall or something, or we do it somewhere kind of in the area that, to your point, to try to make it easy as possible to get those that are most impacted?
You can actually do it like with this particular project, because it's actually affecting people, communities west of here. You could even do, smaller versions in their particular, like they say Bonnie Eagle High School. And let those people weigh in and see just so they're aware that this is something that's happening. And, not that they're gonna have more say than say Scarborough or Gorham or something, but at least they're aware of what's going on.
Gotcha.
They may come back and say, we don't have a problem, so you don't have to do anything, take out, they would, but.
As these options get developed and there are some opportunities for input. And I don't know all the details, but what the school group did, they communicated very well
Yeah.
with their
I think that's the
updates.
bottom line is the
And,
application.
I know one of the people that was very involved, it was so much better than the last time.
Yeah.
And they said, here are these choices and options, and here are ways you can have input. So we're sort of dealing with the state here, right?
Yeah.
So that's a different messenger.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to find a way to help coordinate that communication, because they're not really good at that. They're not used to it.
Right.
That's rewarded.
All right, it is 8, so we're a half hour over, but, I just did always have on our agenda update on Scarborough Hill Road, as it was mentioned earlier.
Oh, see, lights are out, we have to leave.
When out though? As you know, we have successfully got a grant to remove the culvert on Scarborough Hill Road. With council, we laid out an option to replace the culvert on Scarborough Hill Road, but waiting for that grant. We applied, we should know in September. That's what I'm told. If that comes through, funding would be available in January at the earliest to start spending that money. The window to do any work, either way they go, is from November to April, because it is a highly sensitive, environmentally sensitive area. So, I think Tom Hall has this on his, council update, the town manager's update, every council meeting, reminding them that it is gonna be in front of them, I would guess in October, for them to kind of give us staff a direction. We have 3 options, that we laid out for them, and we need direction on how we move forward. So they just wanted to have all the numbers around it. Yeah.
And are there any odds, or is it even possible to put odds on getting the grant to replace?
To replace, no, I think
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah,
I have no sense of,
Gotcha.
I do know it's a very highly sought after grant because there are very few. To do culvert replacements in the state, so. I think we do have a lot of competition, but I think we have also a really good application.
So is this a state grant? This is state or federal grant?
Yes, it's a state grant.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I
Yeah, I didn't
I think
figure.
I think we
Yeah.
mapped out, I think because it's, it's Scarborough Marsh, it's, there's a lot of good reasons that I think we should rank pretty well. And it, yeah, so I guess I can't give you on, sorry.
No, it's okay. I wasn't necessarily expecting it, but we will know one way or the other next month.
Yes, and,
Okay.
and like I said, it'll be in front of council and hopefully get direction. Oh, there we go.
I think it has something to do with.
I did want to add. Two things. One, we already talked about, so I just mentioned again that, they're gonna be looking at the feasibility or improvements around Running Hill and Gorham Road, even though that is part of the Portland West. Study area too, just FYI. GPCOG selected it, and are planning on working closely with DOT, with the Portland West group, on any concepts they're coming up with, but also looking at kind of collaborating, I guess. And so, I think that's all positive, to try to move something forward. And the last thing is Larrabee Farm Road is actually at this intersection at Running Hill and Gorham. The other leg that no one really knows about is Larrabee Farm Road is a private road that has, I think, 4 or 5 homes on it. It is in front of council for street acceptance on September 2nd. So I will be presenting that to council, because we do own a stretch of land along the private way. And then it goes back to the Larrabee Farm parcel, which, Grondin has conveyed a portion of that land over to the town. So it's 130 acres back there right now. That is, open kind of for recreational use, or will be. Community Services is plans on building a parking lot up near Gorham Road, not too far in Larrabee Farm Road, and they'll have an off-road trail that'll lead back to that larger parcel rather than, you won't walk down that road, it'll be off-road. And I will say, I don't think it gets enough credit. The Larrabee Farm project, which is Grondin has done, it really is a wetland mitigation project. And many people have tried to create a natural wetland, and it's very, very difficult. And this is like a huge success. So for stormwater and environmental geeks like me, it's a huge capstone to like a gold star for the town of Scarborough, that we have that in Scarborough, that they were able to, on that site, create some of these wetlands. It's a huge feat, and I think it gets missed when it's in front of council, because we talk about the recreational use and all that, which I know is a big deal. But it's a really big environmental deal that they were able to be so successful in creating those wetlands, in that area too, because yeah, to do that from scratch, yeah, it's not easy. To, replicate Mother Nature, it's not easy. So I will say, I don't think they get enough credit for that, but that will be access back there. So if things happening, a lot of land, a lot of conserved land, a lot of recreational space. So all good.
So the street acceptance for their farm, is that kind of a thing, or is that something that would be discussed and potentially be controversial?
It is typical, I take streets up for, to the council for street acceptance. It is typical for like new subdivisions, things like that. It's not typical that we would accept a private way, otherwise private way. The public works director has done kind of inspections, because he's gonna obviously have to take over maintenance responsibilities, plowing, trash, all of that gets picked up. So that is on kind of the cost operating. And it's actually in really good shape. And I know that is the struggle because we do get calls a lot about private ways wanting to be public that just are not close to our standard and we just can't do it. That's why we go through an inspection process, look at it and make sure it meets kind of the requirements for us to get a plow through there and to be able to maintain it without putting or investing a lot of money into it. We should be able to take a project or a road without spending taxpayer money to fix it first. So that's the key there. And I think Larrabee Farm Road fits that bill. So I don't think it's going to be a conversation.
Do
But
residents generally want
it's a council vote.
a road to be made a public way?
Excuse me?
Do residents, like the residents on their farm, have they been part of the conversation? Are they wanting it to be a public way?
I don't know, Autumn's been leading the effort around the Larrabee Farm parcel and the community services specifically, so I'm not sure what those conversations have been, the abutting neighbors, but right now, I don't believe they have trash pickup or plowing, well, they don't from the town anyway, so I think hopefully that's.
Is that necessary in order to bring public access to the Larrabee Farm parcel?
Yeah, it is for us to do a parking lot of some sort, yes, we do own, as you pull in there, the town owes the land to the right. Brandon had already transferred that land over to the town, so it connects back. But the road itself is private, so it isn't really open to the public. And now it will be, and now we'll be able to build a kind of a small gravel parking lot off it, things like that.
I'm really excited for that.
So is the next meeting gonna start at 5 o'clock?
I know, I have to keep moving it up. No. Well, the next meeting, as Stannis mentioned, coincides with the Portland West meeting in Gorham. It also is the same date as Higgins Beach meeting, so I have 3 meetings that night that I need to figure out where we're going.
Or why don't we have this one right after the planning board, the Tuesday after the planning board meeting?
At what, 10 o'clock?
No, on Tuesday, we meet on Mondays on the planning board. I'm saying the same week as the planning board, which I think is the week before. Just
It is
meet
the
on
week
that
before.
Tuesday.
I will put out a poll and see if people would rather do the 18th. No, this is August. So this is Labor Day.
This 15th.
So you're saying the 14th is planning board? I don't have it on my calendar.
I think it's Tuesday the 15th, right?
Right, I don't know when planning board is.
Or the
It's the
29th.
third, it's the third.
That's what I'm saying, if we either do the 15th or the 29th.
Planning board's the third Monday, right?
The 21st.
The 21st, so the 20th. Oh, that'd be the 22nd.
You're right, so, which I'm saying is, I'm looking to move it.
Isn't this committee supposed to meet on the 4th Tuesday?
Mhm.
So that would be the 29th.
Second. The first is a Tuesday.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses.
So we do have an extra week there, so we could slide it out to the 29th easily. Well, easily, I'll put it out to the group and see which is more able to get more bodies here, I guess. Typically, when we end up with a 5th week in the month, there are usually no other conflict, no one else has a meeting that week. Because it's usually, like it says, the 4th Tuesday of the month or 3rd, whatever of the month. So. That, I will put out and see what everybody availability is.
Cool.
And with that, I'm done.
All set?
Are you guys all set?
We're all set.
Okay, I'm gonna, we're recording, thank you, Peter.
Thank you. See you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.